Wheat Ridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.
Silence or turn off your cell phones for the meeting. Please silence your cell phones for the meeting. I'm calling to order the Wheat Ridge City Council meeting of June 9, 2012. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city clerk please take roll?
Davis Reinhardt.
Here.
Bud Starker.
Here.
Joyce J.
Here.
Christy Davis.
Here.
Mike Stites.
Here.
George Pond.
Present.
Tracy Langworthy.
Here.
Joseph DeMott.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 12, 2011 and December 19th of 2011?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for approval, seconded by Councilmember Starker. Changes on the minutes? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is proclamations and ceremonies. We have none tonight, so we'll move on to citizens' right to speak. Citizens who wish may speak on any matter not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please step forward if you'd like to speak on anything not on the agenda tonight for public comment. Please step forward and spell your last name for the record and give us your address and or your city.
Hello, my name is Guy Namiach, Nahmiach, 3650 Ward Road, here in Wheat Ridge, 833. We had a letter about the dog park in the last Neighborhood Gazette, and usually we let these things just go off, and we had too many people work way too hard not to respond to this, and before it goes onto the paper as a rebuttal, I just wanted to, made official. As a chairperson for the Parks and Recs Committee and the citizens group that planned the dog park, I'd like to tell you about this group made of multi-generation citizens, including some founding members of the city of Wheat Ridge and neighbors from the Fruitdale Park area. Meeting for almost a year, we opted to use land already owned by the city with an existing infrastructure, including parking lot, paths, washrooms, etc., breaking down our budget needs to the basic minimums, exploring all available resources, new and used. We held public and neighborhood meetings, advertised in local newspapers, Channel 8, as well as the city's website. Avoiding a final map, we created a soft layout that would allow us to make the changes once the physical outline was created. We were so sensitive to the local needs that we moved an entire fencing line because of a single request made by one of the neighbors. City councilors responded positively to our recommendations. Thank you. It echoed our citizens' request for a dog park. We were one of 2 cities left without one. As a realtor, it's one of the more popular requests that I get today from buyers looking around. I wish Mr. Bernie would have attended any of our meetings to share his opinions. To call this park an inside job is an insult to the community, to the committee members that worked tirelessly on this project. The Parks and Recs Committee is certainly open to hearing requests from all citizens regarding suggestions for a park, even his for a cat. Change is difficult, Mr. Bernie, but I want to assure you that the one big thing that has not changed is the level of enthusiasm and determination to keep Wheat Ridge relevant and moving forward. If I can be so bold as to tell you that our founding generation, the one you quote and identify with, is still kicking down doors and breaking barriers. This is the connection between the generation, the new one, and yours in raising families all around us. I invite you to take part in our growth, in our change, in our success. And by the way, thank you for your suggestion for the park name, Park de Tullio. He loved it, though he also realizes that this was a group effort, good for the city, hence the name Wheat Ridge Dog Park. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else for public comment before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes recommended tonight for the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 1, which is the consent agenda. Councilmember Starker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like to read the consent agenda. This is item number 1 in your package. A, resolution number 01-2012, amending the fiscal year 2012 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $25,116 for the renewal of the 2012 contract to support the WRTV8 Community Bulletin Board software and purchase 3 additional licenses. B, resolution number 02-2012, amending the fiscal year 2012 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $12,533.40 for the renewal of the WRTV8 Community Video Streaming Software support for 2012. C, resolution number 03-2012, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lakewood and the City of Wheat Ridge for Crime Lab crime scene services in the amount of $68,610. D, resolution number 04-2012, amending the fiscal year 2012 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation for the 2011 Edward Byrne Justice Assistant Grant in the amount of $19,022. E, resolution number 05-2012, designating the transcript as the official public notice location in the official newspaper of general circulation for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado. F, resolution 06-2012, amending the fiscal year 2012 municipal court fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $20,300 for the purchase of a portable security scanner. G, resolution number 07-2012, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Wheat Ridge and the State of Colorado to provide the city with access to the state unemployment benefit database for municipal court purposes. H, motion to approve the annual renewal for the computer-aided dispatch and records management system in the amount of $81,755 to Logic Systems Incorporated. I, motion to encumber funds for on-call storm sewer cleaning and on-call traffic signal repair services in a total amount not to exceed $105,000.
Would anybody like to pull any items off the consent?
Second the motion.
Seeing none, motion's in order.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for approval of the consent agenda A through I, seconded by Councilmember Reinhardt. Discussion on any items on the consent? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is decisions, resolutions, and motions. Item 2 is Resolution 08-2012. Councilmember Jay.
Resolution 08-2012, a resolution approving a performance agreement between the City of Wheat Ridge and Zopi Family Incorporated and a consulting agreement with Success Resources Unlimited Incorporated and amending the fiscal year 2012 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $34,500 for the first deposit required by the performance agreement and the full amount required by the consulting agreement. Okay. At issue, shall the City Council approve a performance agreement with Zopi Family Incorporated and a consulting agreement with Success Resources to provide for the production of the Zopi Italian Family Circus from August 17th to August 26th, and in connection therewith approve a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $34,500 for the first deposit required by the performance agreement and the full amount required by the consulting agreement, with a total financial commitment of $105,376.
Motion's in order.
Let me get it down here now.
It's on page 80.
I move to approve resolution number 08-2012, a resolution approving a performance agreement between the City of Wheat Ridge and Zopi Family, Inc., and a consulting agreement with Success Resources Unlimited, Inc., and amending the fiscal year 2012 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $34,500 for the first deposit required by both agreements.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for approval, a second by council members Langworthy and Demott. We'll move on to public comment first. Please step forward if you have any comments on this item number 2. Then we'll move on to questions and answers from council.
Hello, my name is Janet Lombardi. I am here on behalf of the Italian American Business Association, IABA. We have a membership of about 114 businesses that equate to hundreds and hundreds of people that would be addressing this or going to the circus. We've been to the circus. I have been in the last 3 years, and the circus has grown. So has the family itself. I think it would be a wonderful event to add to the calendar at Wheat Ridge. I find it very entertaining, and there's a lot of us Italians here in Colorado, in Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
But could you please spell your last name for the record?
Lombardi, Lombardi.
Thank you. So move on to council questions and answers, discussion. Gina and Hallisey and Margie Cipher, please step forward. I think council may have some questions. Did you have a small presentation, or did you want to just answer questions?
Well, I did want to let everyone know I didn't bring this last time, and I was scolded for not sharing. So I did want to show you that Zope has made the front page of the Denver Post above the fold, which is pretty hard to get. And they are newsworthy, and they have a lot of PR around them when they do arrive in town. So I just wanted to show you that since I had it.
Would you mind passing that to the city clerk, and he can pass it down to council? Council, do you have any questions or discussion?
I have one question as far as the renewal section, number 4.
Which contract?
The Zopi, the Classics.
Performance agreement?
Yeah, the performance agreement. Is it necessary to have the terms of a 6% increase or inflation rate, whichever is higher, in there? Or can we put something to be negotiable? I mean, I just think 6% is lofty.
Sure, and I'd like Gina to address this as well. This was in the form they gave us. It's clearly a business point. It's not a legal point, so it's a matter of how much the parties want to, agree. You'll notice originally they just had 6% with dates subject to change. I added with such modifications mutually agreed upon by the parties to that because I felt that after a year goes by, there's bound to be something besides just the performance dates that both parties might want to adjust. So I gave us that flexibility. Often you'll see in renewal agreements that this can be renewed upon mutual agreement of the parties. And in a minute, I want to hand off to Gina on your particular point. Obviously, some kind of renewal is good for the city because we get on their dance card, and we don't have a lot of flexibility on our dates. The dates for 2013 are going to be what they are, and so we're going to know within, I hope, 2 months after the last performance if this was the right for the city. It's something we want to do and re-up. But the sort of automatic increase is something you negotiate really with them. That's what they've kind of put on the table, and I think it's absolutely fair for you to ask them if they need that and what has been their past experience around that.
I can tell you from my experience in booking them for the last 3 years, I've never had that issue come up. We're actually paying less this year than I paid for them 3 years ago in Winter Park. So what I've found is every year based on the economy and their tour schedule and those kind of things, everything is negotiable. And if it were a deal breaker, I would say they'd probably take that out of there if it really was a deal breaker. I've never, ever had it become an issue. They've never added 6%. We've actually taken away money. So I've always gotten a better deal. It seems the more I book them, the better deals I get with them. So
I guess if we don't, I mean, from what you're saying, even the 6%,
it's
might
never
not
been
even to be in there, and
It's
we
never.
could say
I've never
negotiable.
paid 1% more
Right.
than what I paid the year before. I've actually paid less.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it's. I'm sure they have it in there for a reason. Probably what I would suspect is if Canton, Ohio comes back again next year and says we want that date, the same as the Carnation Festival date, then they might come to us and say, "Are you going to, book up at the 6%?" I just don't see that. I don't see it happening. But we could ask. I mean, I text him. I haven't heard back to ask him if he was firm on it. I haven't heard back. That doesn't really answer your question, does it? So I guess I just need to know from you all what language you would want. The mutually agreed upon part seems logical to me.
That would cover it. I mean, you could put a period after, with such modification mutually agreed by the parties. That would mean, of course, that would extend to everything in the agreement, including the fee.
Right.
And that would give both parties the opportunity. It's now 59 days after the last performance. The city calls up and says, we'd like to book. And they say, we'd be delighted to do that, but we need, X% more. And then, you decide. But that would give them room to say that, and it would give the room to say yes, the city to say yes or no to that at that time.
Could you put including, so after the mutually agreed upon, to include the 6% or something, so that it's just worded?
Well, you could say to include the amount of the fee.
Right.
And that way you can decide what the fee.
And I'm pretty sure
should
they'd
be.
be okay with that.
Yeah, because if it's mutually agreed upon, we'd agree upon it, whereas here,
Yeah.
It's just
I
kind
mean,
of
it
there.
spells it out.
Yes, it does.
Inflation rate or 6%,
That's right.
whichever is greater. So we could be held to 6%.
Yes, as written,
Not
that's
saying
true.
it's never happened, but as written.
Yeah, it's in there, so
Yeah.
I think they'd be okay with that sort of language. They're very, as Jerry knows from dealing with Kirby the last week or so, he's very open to negotiating.
Well, you could strike in adding to the fee terms only the national inflation rate, et cetera, 6%, and replace that with, comma, to include the amount of the fee. So that would mean the parties would be required to talk about the amount of the fee, among any other issues they wanted to adjust. Okay.
Mr. Starker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Dahl, I noticed in paragraph 7, insurance and indemnification of the performance agreement, we don't have any dollar limits on the liability and insurance. It just says to cover adequately to cover the artist's employees' property and activities.
Yes, I didn't have access to their insurance policy. I'm sure we can get it. The structure here is that they have to have insurance, but I think you absolutely pointed out something. Normally, I like to actually see you'll have this much general liability, et cetera, et cetera. The main protection for the city here are that we are indemnified by them. But of course, if someone doesn't have the resources, indemnification isn't all that helpful. At the same time, we're also covered by the Colorado Governmental Immunity Act for any negligence that is attributable to the city.
Right.
And we're not waiving that, and I included that language. It would certainly be a good thing for us to know what that insurance is. I don't know how much. Do you have that? Okay. All right. They've got general liability at $2 million. Products aggregate, I'm not sure they really sell products, but at $300,000, and general liability is $1 million for each occurrence. Looks like fire damage. They don't have anything for fire damage, but I'm now in my practice at least requiring $1 million. A lot of people are requiring $2 million for general liability, and they appear to have that.
Do they carry any umbrella coverage?
I'm sorry.
Any umbrella coverage?
Well, they've got general aggregate at $2 million, and then they've got liability each occurrence at $1 million. I don't see an umbrella.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This is probably something I'd accept, although I'd like to also see, I'm sure they have motor vehicle liability. They travel in RVs, and that's not shown here. This is probably for the circus itself, although the RVs are probably owned by the circus, I would bet.
They do have all of that, and the troop are all contractors.
I'd want to see probably the auto insurance and be ensured that to the extent they have employees versus independent contractors that they have workers' comp.
Yeah, they're
Would
all
be the
they're
two
all
things I'd
independent
check.
contractors. I do know that because I've
Okay.
had the same things come up
Yeah.
year after year.
Wouldn't surprise me if they are. I'd be inclined to say that's probably sufficient. I'll certainly ask them to provide me the auto policies as well.
Okay. And then they would, and I don't know whether they would need to name the city as an additionally insured.
We talked about that, and they are required to do that on or before July 1, 2012. You see in the middle of the paragraph, the insurance has to be primary.
Mm-hmm.
We get a certificate, which we have, and the certificate, a new one has to
yes,
show the city
I see
as,
that now, thank you.
yeah.
That certificate was from last year. It's just an example.
And you've got until July 1, 2012 to update it.
Yeah,
So
they will.
Yeah.
Mr. Dumont?
On the performance agreement under the performance schedule and duration, I noticed there's nothing that mentions the parade. I don't know if we had mentioned that to them, but I think that would be a good way for
I would say
us
that's
to show what we're doing.
that morning, Saturday morning.
Yeah, and that's at 10 usually. So, is
What-
there any way? I know their first performance is at 1.
It would depend on how far along they are in the setup. But I'm sure we can get some of them to come in the parade, for sure. Maybe not the whole troop, but as you know, they're coming in from New York, so it's going to be a tight squeeze, to get ready for that 1 o'clock performance.
Would that be something that we should put in there, even if we, make sure we're there in the front of the parade? They'll be the first ones done, kind of thing, and back. But I would
can
think
just,
that we would want that. That would be a big.
I'm sure I could get a handful of them. I know I won't get the whole troop, but I'm sure I could get a handful of them juggling and doing, street performance type stuff.
We've
Yeah.
got a line item in the first bullet for school presentation and PR appearances of a duration of discretion of the artist. We can either say that covers it, or we could add another bullet, like a third bullet, saying PR appearance at the parade on August 18th.
Is that on
The-
the Monday or Tuesday that you're looking?
Was it Saturday the 18th? Is that when the parade is?
Yeah, those PR appearances are more the school visits and just kind of around town kind of stuff. But I'm not confident they'll do that. So you can add it in there if you want.
Okay. All right. Does that work if we add a bullet
Just under that bullet.
under Saturday? Well,
Oh, under
I'd
Saturday.
add it as a new bullet before or after the current Saturday, August 18th, and just add another bullet saying PR appearance at the parade. Is that what you want to have happen?
Maybe
in
2 or
there.
3 of them.
Yeah, I
May not be
wouldn't put
20.
Yeah.
Major deal breaker point or anything, but
Yeah.
just something.
Sure,
that you-
that's a good
And,
idea.
and I don't see PR appearances or school presentations as being the full show either.
No.
And I don't think
No.
that was their intention. Fine.
It would be kind of what he did when he went to Children's Hospital. Nino shows up, does a few little clown tricks, and
Yeah.
talks to the kids, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. J?
Actually, a couple of them. In the ensuing years, you're showing an increase in sales. Is that you're thinking in terms of the price going up? Because I think you have a full house is what's planned for all of the sales.
You would hope to get to sold out performances, then you would raise your ticket price. Because this year we're anticipating a $10 ticket is actually what's budgeted, which is a coupon ticket. So in future years, if the ticket normally is 15, we're going to do all these coupons, and assuming they're all coupons, we budgeted for 10. Let's say next year we do an $18 ticket, we still do our $5 coupon, we're still going to make another $2 more per ticket than we did this year. So that's a lot of it. And then we also can, they are in the process of redoing their bleachers. And once they redo their bleachers for this tent, which takes, several years to do, they'll be able to seat 800 in this tent. Right now, the bleachers seat 500. We'll add 100 chairs to get to 600. And then, hopefully, I'm kind of anticipating the growth inside the tent as well, so we can sell more tickets.
You're anticipating 600 seats in the tent now, in this year?
Right.
Okay.
Right. We will see.
When I did the math, it looked like 500, but. Okay.
Well, I'm going to put 600 because I'm going to shoot for 600.
Okay.
We budgeted for 5.
Okay, question number 2, which may or may not be answerable or applies in this contract. When we discussed it during study session, we spoke of an insurance policy of some sort that would help us out in case we had, a major rainstorm or we got stormed out. Have we completely dropped that idea, or?
Well, we haven't really added that to the budget. I know we talked about it, but I don't know where that actually went. I know Margie can speak to the insurance. You have event insurance for the Carnation Festival. Is that weather insurance?
Margie, can you get to the mic here?
You should speak to that.
Well, and actually, Sherry takes care of those things. So, but as far as catastrophic, it's an act of God, and there's just about not any way that we could insure for an act of God.
Right, I saw that in there. I thought that there was some sort of a storm protection that we were discussing that was a viable.
I remember you mentioning that, but
Is that something we could?
I can't help you with that.
I don't know that it'd be a part of this contract, but it's something that, if it's possible, maybe we should look into it, because we are really carrying the whole load of this thing. Is the reason I'm bringing that up.
Go ahead and use the mics, please, if you're going to speak.
I can surely research that and bring that to whoever needs to get that information with a dollar amount.
So we can make a judgment.
Yeah.
That would be
Is that something we can do ongoing or after the fact?
Right.
Sure, and I'd point out that paragraph 6 of the performance agreement, if there is an act of God, epidemic, war, physical disability, etc., everyone's relieved of their responsibilities, and the city is not responsible to pay. If it's just bad weather, and the artist is willing to perform and is available to perform, and the city decides to cancel because of bad weather, the city still pays, as it should. The artist is already willing and able to perform. It's bad weather, and we're only going to have half of the audience show up. Well, that's just the luck of the draw, and the city pays in that event. But if there's some kind of act of God that prevents the circus from showing up and happening, then the city is not obliged to pay, and they're not obliged to show up. It's kind of how we drew that line.
I do know we have them here for that run of 2 weeks. So during that time, if, a performance is rained out or whatever, we could always have a rain date, because we have some dark days. They're only performing at 7 o'clock during the week. We could have a 4 o'clock performance for the rain date. And they are very open to do those kind of things, so we wouldn't be losing the revenue. We could have a rain date for a rain out date. Or, they're very flexible in that way if there's something that comes up.
Does that need to be in the contract?
We could certainly include it. We can say the artist will schedule rain dates but only to the degree that does not increase the number of performances and does not eliminate the required rest days.
Right.
Because I know both of those things are important. Is that right?
Right. But I did talk to Giovanni about, because of the tight setup window, I said, what if, they break down somewhere on the road or whatever, and it runs them behind, and it's going to be tight to set up and do that 1 o'clock performance on Saturday. And he said we would just do more performances during the week. We would add another one, and we would just add another one on Sunday or add another one the following Saturday. So they're very open to doing that. We can write it in there. I know they won't mind.
Well, we'll make
so long as
that
the number of performances don't change.
Right. Yeah. Because that's what we're buying, but we don't want to buy. It's not fair to get extra. It's also not fair to deny them the rest days that are part of their contract, which I understand. So I think we can write it in with that caveat and adjust the schedule around, basically, but you end up with the same amount of product and the same amount of rest. Okay.
Just a clarification point. I noticed one of the days is a performance, is at a performance without charge for the people who donate. Is that what that is?
Right. We have as a bargaining chip, I guess, it's a sponsor benefit. So if we're going to go after sponsors, and actually I have the first draft of our sponsor. Sherry and I have already kind of started working on this. So I'll pass these around, and you can see there's 6 different sponsorship levels. So the presenting and co-presenting sponsors, that's part of their benefit, is they would be able to have a private performance for their family, friends, guests, clients, business associates, whatever, and that's how we get them to sponsor. So I'll pass these around for everybody to kind of look through. They're kind of a first draft, so you can see what we're thinking, but that's what that's for.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. J? What I would recommend, we have a main motion, it was seconded that...
Can I have one more question?
Yeah, that's true. What I wanted to say is that what we'll do is, at the end, we'll have an amendment. Mr. Dahl will read the amendments, and then somebody can say, I so moved, and then seconded, and then we'll catch all the amendments at once. So,
okay. So I have just one more question. Okay. And Gina, this is on your consulting agreement.
Okay.
Just a quick question. I guess this is probably because I come from a world of pay for performance. So have you ever set up agreements that are more performance-based, like there'd be a lump sum and then bonus sums, like if you hit the amount of ticket sales, or if it's 1/2 of the ticket sales or 2/3 of the ticket sales? I mean, I'm aware the city's taking on this entire risk, but I'm just thinking from if consulting and promoting type of aspect, if that's something you've ever done.
I've done that on. I actually have an agreement in place right now, but it's a year-long agreement that is a base and commissions. So those, I don't know if I'd do it on a special event because they're so unique. I'd have to think about that. I think this agreement, for purposes of this year, is just basically kind of to put the whole thing together and have it be a training ground for the Carnation Festival would be my ultimate goal, just because I have the expertise of doing this event for 3 years. So can I guarantee that, we'll have 600 tickets every performance? And nobody can guarantee that because it's very weather driven and, other things drive that factor. But I can tell you that, you'll get what you paid for, and you're in the agreement. I'll definitely promote it. I have the resources to promote it, and I have the knowledge to promote it. And Sherry and I are going to work on the sponsorship together. So everything I do, I'm going to either have Sherry or Margie, or is it Ann? There's 3 or 4 people that would basically be my shadow, and I'm going to train them how to do this so that every year it can be repeated, and, you get better at it every year. But to answer your question, I don't know that I'd change this agreement right now, but in the future years, that's always an option. Never had it presented on a special event.
Ms. Seifert, did you want to say anything about the Carnation Festival or this event?
We're thrilled to have it. We feel we can work with Gina and make it really be a success. We already have volunteers, a few that are willing to step in. It's going to take quite a few volunteers just as a separate entity over what we already have. We've been building a volunteer base for the last year is when we started. So we're still in the process of building that, but this will, I think, just accelerate the whole process. So we'll do a good job for you, and I feel Gina will too.
Would you mind spelling your last name for the record, and Gina, spell your last name for the record, too?
Margie Seifer, S as in Sam, E-Y, F as in Frank, E-R.
Thank you.
And it's Gina, G-I-N-A, Hallisey, H-A-L-L-I, S as in Sam, E-Y.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions or comments from City Council? So what I'm going to recommend is we have a motion for approval and was seconded. I'm going to recommend that the city attorney would read an amendment and then somebody say so moved, and then someone second that amendment. We'll vote on the amendment first, which should incorporate all of the comments from council members Davis, DeMott, Jay, and a few others if we had any others, Mr. Stark. Or so, did you want to read the amendments, and then we could have someone say so moved, and then someone can second that?
Sure. There are no amendments to the consulting agreement, so it would be with the following amendments to the performance agreement. Paragraph 1, add on Saturday, August 18, PR appearance at parade. Also in paragraph 1, add the following language. Artist will schedule rain dates for canceled performances, provided, however, not to increase the number of performances or decrease the required rest days. Amend paragraph 4, renewal, to delete the phrase "and adding to the fee terms only the national inflation rate or 6%, whichever is higher," replacing that language with as follows: to include the amount of the fee. That's all.
Would someone like to move for that amendment?
So move.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, so we have the amendment was made by Councilmember Jay, seconded by Councilmember DeMott. Questions on the amendment? Please poll the council on the amendment.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. We have the main motion now as amended. Please poll the council.
Wait,
Oh,
can
Mr.
we,
Dunn-
I just want to speak up. As fun an idea as I think this is, and having actually been at a wandering Italian circus when I lived in Italy in the second grade, I don't believe this is the business of government, so I won't be supporting this.
Any other comments, discussion? Please poll the council on the main motion as amended.
And that motion carries 7-1 with Mr. Reinhardt voting no.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Look forward to working with you, and we'll do a good job for you.
Thank you. Move on to item 3, which is motion to appoint elected officials to outside agencies. Councilmember Pond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to present motion to appoint elected officials to outside agencies. The issue at hand is there are vacancies exist on various outside agency committees due to the 2011 election, specifically Colorado Municipal League, DRCOG, and the Jefferson Economic Council. Motion's in order.
Go ahead and make some motions one at a time, please.
Thank you. I move to appoint Councilmember Davis Reinhardt to the Colorado Municipal League Policy Committee member, with Councilmember Bud Starker appointed as alternate.
Second.
Please poll the council.
That carries 8-0.
For the record, that was Councilmember Stites on the second. Mr. Pond.
I move to appoint Councilmember Joyce J. to DRCOG, Council Representative, with Councilmember Bud Starker as alternate.
Second.
We have a motion seconded by Councilmember Stites. Please poll the council.
That carries 8-0.
I move to appoint Councilmember Davis Reinhardt to Jefferson Economic Council.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Stites. Please poll the council.
Carries 8-0.
I move to appoint Councilmember Joseph DeMott to the Jefferson County Housing Rehab Loan Committee.
Second.
Motion seconded by Councilmember Stites. Please poll the council.
That'll carry 8-0.
I move to appoint Councilmember George Pond to Jefferson County Transportation Action and Advocacy Group.
Second.
We have a motion for approval seconded by Councilmember Starker and Pond. Starker and Stites. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Is that it?
Nope. I move to appoint Councilmember Mike Stites to the Police Seizure Fund.
Second.
We have a motion for approval seconded by Councilmember Stites.
You got to be pretty quick to beat Mike to that.
That carries
Please poll the council.
Sorry.
I move to appoint City Clerk Janelle Shaver to the Jefferson County Community Corrections Board.
Second.
We have a motion for approval seconded by Councilmember Stites. Please poll the council.
That carries 8-0.
And finally, I move to appoint Mayor Jerry Tutulio to the Community Development Block Grant Committee, with Sally Payne as alternate.
Second.
We have a motion for approval seconded by Councilmember Stites. Please poll the council.
Carries 8-0.
Thank you. I believe we'll move on to item 4, which is the council rules. It's the presentation. Any questions, comments, or changes on the council rules as presented? I believe the Patrick Goff and the city attorney went through the packet of council rules and made the changes based on the study session. Any changes or any comments from council? If not, these will be on the next agenda item and next council meeting for approval. Okay, seeing no comments, we'll move on to city managers' matters.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give a quick update on our Town Center North project. The Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority closed with Wazee Partners on about 2.2 acres of property owned by the Urban Renewal Authority at 44th and Wadsworth. They pulled the permit, Wazee Partners has, and has started dirt work to prepare for the construction of an 88-unit senior housing apartment. For people interested in information about leasing in those apartments, you can go to the city's website, and there's a link to the Wazee Partners page specifically for that building. So you can check that out. Also, across the street from City Hall, Metro Community Provider Network pulled their permit a couple weeks ago, and they've been very busy preparing that site for the construction of their integrated medical office building. So we have a little bit of construction going on in the city, which is exciting to see. That's all I got.
Thank you. City attorney's matters.
A little over a week ago, my two dogs and I went to the dog park, and Georgia and China give the park their stamp of approval. So you should know that. They had a great time. They think it's terrific.
Is this an inside job, Mr. Dole?
No, they wanted to go. They told me they wanted to go. We went. They thought it was terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome Janelle Shaver, our new city clerk, and city clerk's matters.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Move on to Councilmember DeMott.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Not tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Pond.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jay.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Davis.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Langworthy.
What auction? Can I have another turn?
Oh. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, the rookie needs another turn.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that I'd like to do is thank the many businesses of Wheat Ridge. I actually this year joined the Wilmore Davis PTA. I know. I live right up the street from Wilmore Davis. And they're doing a silent auction on February 10th. And I've been hitting the streets asking the businesses of Wheat Ridge for donations for their silent auction, and community members for silent auction donations, Avalanche tickets, Nuggets tickets. And I will say, I got told no for the first time today, but for the last 2 weeks, I've had nothing but wonderful, wonderful donations and participation. So I want to thank all of those who have donated, and if you're interested in donating, let me know. You can contact me. My phone number's on the website. But it's for a good cause, for the PTA. They're looking to put smart boards in all the classrooms and put money towards the students that possibly the district can't fund.
Thank you. Ms. Langworthy?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Starker?
As this is the first meeting of the new year, I'd like to wish all of our citizens a happy new year and a prosperous new year, and express my pleasure at being on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stites?
You bet. As always, we're getting a lot of movement now, hopefully with suggestion on each meeting, but it's a great time to relocate to Wheat Ridge, either your home or business, and we're starting to get a lot of inquiries about that, and I think that's fantastic. I always ask you to do a positive thing, and I saw many, many things over the holiday, people helping each other out with shoveling walks and particular things, and that's fantastic, and that's what it's designed for, and that's what you should be doing. And as always, please try to find it and buy it in Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year and safe New Year. We started off at the end of last year with our traffic safety month, and I hope that we can continue that program through this year, especially if you have teenage students and children driving around the city, and also adults. Please be careful in the traffic zones and the school zones. Also make sure that you're not texting and driving when you're in the community. We already had one tragic accident last year with alcohol was involved. We don't want to see that again with anybody, high school student or senior or anybody in the city of Wheat Ridge. So please don't drink and drive. I hope you had a good, happy New Year, but please don't drink and drive and text while you're driving. The chief will be continuing that enforcement and that educational program at Wheat Ridge High School over the next year. And so we want to make sure that we have all of our high school students and regular students in the lower grades safe from vehicles. And I also wanted to thank the council tonight for looking forward on this Zoppe Italia Circus. I completely understand what Councilmember Reinhardt says, and if 10 years from now we're still sponsoring this completely, that would probably be not a good thing. But if you look at other cities like Denver, Lakewood, Arvada, they've been the seed to start some of these programs forward. And like we talked about, with the fundraising and all the volunteers we'll have this year, hopefully the city will be whole again by the end of the year, and we can have the project start again up in next year again. So with the sponsorships, and I really believe that Gina, Sherry John, Margie, and the city attorney, and Patrick, everybody's really worked hard on getting the good foundation for this, and I appreciate that we're moving forward to get city on the map for an event that could benefit a lot of different folks in the community. So with that, we'll adjourn. We'll take about a 10-minute break, and we'll come back for a study session.
Wheat Ridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.